Yankees Files podcast, we are back, and this is entirely different from anything we've done before. Truly off-season content to the fullest extent. I'm Will Harris. You're Matt Harris, no relation. You're Taylor Jackson. Both of you now recurring guests on the Yankees Files podcast, and the rest of you are in for something you've truly never heard before. You know, guys, I asked myself as we went into the offseason, what would offseason content look like with Steve? Because Steve is not Whipple. And with Whipple, it was always, we're going to do a draft of something. We're going to remember some guys. We're going to draft games or moments or whatever it might be. It doesn't seem like that's as much Steve's vibe, but we're still figuring it out. One piece of offseason content that I've always wanted to do revolves around airports and air travel. And that's what this is going to be. Now, some of our listeners may be asking, where's Steve? Steve hasn't been on a plane in like over a decade, so he was not going to be good for this episode. But luckily, I have two very capable listener, follower, recurring guests, Matt and Taylor, who were willing to step in and take on this challenge. Welcome to you both. Please, starting with Matt, introduce yourself. What's your home airport? What's your most frequently flown airline?
Okay. So hello, everyone, or hello again, I guess I should say. I'm Matt. I went to Notre Dame with Will, so it's important to say go Irish all times. I am currently based in the DFW area. If this were last year, I would have said my home airport is Love Field. However, due to the changes Southwest made, little foreshadowing for later in the podcast, I would say my home airport is DFW Airport. And my most flown airline now, as a result, American has surpassed Southwest as my most flown airline.
Although they're both trying to ruin their products in various ways.
Yes, always.
Taylor, over to you.
Yeah, I am Taylor Jackson. I am from Nashville, Tennessee, as you know, kind of previously in a previous episode stated. And so my home airport is BNA, newly renovated BNA.
Okay.
They have done a lot to improve that airport. The sentiment in Nashville, though, is I think people are still upset about the carpet. People loved the BNA carpet, like that was a thing, and they kind of got
very Portland of them.
Terminal. Yeah. Mm-hmm. But no, it used to be a pretty mediocre airport. It has gotten infinitely better. Parking, rideshare services, food, everything about BNA has improved in the last 5 years, and I think they are doing more. So that's my home airport. Similar to Matt, I mean, which airline have I flown the most in my life? It's definitely Southwest, far and away. But due to the kind of recent changes, I also have, I guess, been exploring other alternatives. This year, probably, I haven't flown as much within the last year, and I've probably flown an equal amount American and JetBlue.
Interesting.
And I actually really like JetBlue. They're kind of my leader in the clubhouse right now of who might get the most of my business. And it is because, I fly to the Northeast more than anywhere else. Nashville only flies to New York and Boston on JetBlue, but I fly to those two destinations probably more than anywhere else. So it works out for me. And yeah, so that's kind of what was the next? Was that it?
That was it.
Questions? Yeah.
Yeah. So we've got a good diversity of representation here. My home airport right now is LaGuardia, but like both of you, I was once a loyal Southwest customer when I was a BWI guy. Now, even though LaGuardia is primarily a Delta airport, I think by passengers flown, Delta has 40% or something. Yeah, 43%. I'm actually primarily a United flyer, which is something that I'm still kind of conflicted about because I've always fancied myself a Delta person, and I've wanted to be one. And my wife got Delta status last year and loved it, but it's not made sense for my work travel. So I'm a United guy who used to be a Southwest guy. We got American, we got JetBlue. I'm at a Delta airport. Matt, you're at an American airport. Taylor, I was looking at Nashville earlier. I didn't realize that Southwest was so dominant there.
Yeah.
Like, almost 5 times more than American or Delta. Maybe that's just my own airport ignorance. I've never visited BNA despite my longtime allegiance to Southwest. But anyway, I sent these guys some questions that we're going to dive into about our recent experiences with airports, our thoughts on airports, good, bad, ugly, surprising. And then I'm sure that we'll get into just some miscellaneous air travel discussion, whether that's hard product, whether that's the different planes, whether that's the Allegiant Sun Country merger. There's a lot of fertile air traffic discussion for us to get into. So, first thing that I asked you guys for was your top 3 airports. And Matt, I'll go to you first. This is US or international. This is large or small. Give me your top 3 airports.
Okay, so I guess to lay down the foundation, I travel quite a bit for work, and with American being headquartered here in DFW, which side tangent to the side tangent, we also have, I believe, both Frontier and Spirit are also based out of Dallas, and so, but I've never flown Frontier, and I've only flown Spirit once in Dallas, but have to give them their flowers. But with that all being said, with American being based here, they fly to a lot of unique destinations, and I travel a lot for work, and so that's given me the opportunity to go to some of these smaller airports. And I am absolutely a sucker for a small airport, like a nice 5 gates. Like they're only going like. For me, a lot of the time, they're only going to DFW, Bush, and Atlanta. Those are the only places they go. Love those ones. But my top 3 airports, one is the Greenville-Spartanburg Airport. Absolutely love that
airport. I don't think anyone, first of all, nobody knew this episode was coming. But second of all, nobody who even had an inkling about what this episode might contain when it started thought that Greenville-Spartanburg would be the first airport shouted out. So well done, Matthew.
Oh yeah, it's lovely. It's got 2 terminals. It's easy to get to. They've got a nice Chick-fil-A inside and outside. They actually have it on both sides.
That's strong.
Just a lovely airport. My sister goes to Clemson, so I've flown in and out of there several times. Number 2, and it's like rated like the best airport in America, Houston Hobby. Has anyone flown through there?
I have, yes.
Taylor, can you attest to the fact of how just lovely of an experience it is?
It was
the easiest.
It was really easy. So I have only connected there once. So I was there for maybe an hour and a half. It was a short connection, but it was great. I mean, it was really easy. It was also during the peak of COVID. So that probably this, thing that was terrible for everyone did attribute to the positive of, airport experience because nobody was there. I was connecting to Lafayette, Louisiana. And
wow.
Yeah. Which is, I hate to give a spoiler, but Lafayette, Louisiana is not going to be in my top 3 list.
So I had this written down in my notes, but friend of the program, Dan Feliciano. So last year,
Pedro Feliciano.
Yes. So last year we went, my friends and I, we went to the Notre Dame Sugar Bowl game. And when it got delayed a day, I drove from Dallas, to New Orleans, but Chris and Dan had to work their flights around. Dan ended up getting, with the timing that he needed to be back, he ended up getting a flight out of Lafayette, Louisiana. And so on the way back from New Orleans, I drove up to Lafayette, dropped him off, and then kept going on my way.
That's ridiculous.
So shout out to the Lafayette Airport. Another thing, people didn't think there would be multiple references to.
Absolutely not. So Matt, in my head, I think of Houston Hobby as basically like Control C, Control V, Love Field into Houston. I've never been there, but that's how I imagine it. What is it actually like?
So that's overall pretty good representation. It's a little bit bigger, and it does have an international section of the terminal as well, which one of the questions Will had asked us was best airport meals. So when you go to Houston Hobby, almost all the gates are like straight and to the left, except there's like 4 international gates to the right. That's like you actually walk past where you go out of the secure area and you keep going. And then that's where they have like the flights to Cabo and like other like Mexican or Caribbean destinations. And when you walk that way, there's like a secret Chick-fil-A back there that no one knows is there because it's only on the international side. But yes, yes, Houston Hobby is very similar to Love Field, that it is just the much smaller, compact, Southwest heavy airport in a major Texas city.
Shout out to the secret Chick-fil-A in the Delta and International Terminal, Terminal 5 at O'Hare. I think it's the only Chick-fil-A at O'Hare, and I never get to go because I'm not flying Delta out of there. But every once in a while, man, I'm going to get to O'Hare Terminal 5. Anyway, Matt, your third.
Similar to Greenville-Spartanburg, the Spokane Airport in Washington.
This is electric. This is completely electric.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest.
So both times I've flown out of there, there's a Spring Hill Suite. Shout out Marriott. Spring Hill Suite's like literally across the street, like in the as you drive around, and so it's in the middle. So you just walk out the door and then you walk into the terminal.
That's wild.
So for that like 5 a.m. flight out of Spokane, it is lovely.
That's phenomenal. I did not expect Spokane. I mean, Matt, you kind of went off the board with those. Like if this had been a draft, I think those all would have been available way later.
Yes.
But it's not a draft. This is about your personal preferences. And honestly, I'm impressed. Like I did not expect any of those. You've shown your range as a connoisseur of U.S. airports. And I think that's all there is to say there. Taylor, your top 3 airports. I'm going to unmute you. There we go.
There we go. Man, I don't even know how to follow Matt. We pulled out Greenville, South Carolina, and Spokane, Washington.
Unbelievable.
Which I'm glad Matt went first because I thought about it, when kind of creating my list. Like, do I want to do – because I also am a fan of very small airports with, not a lot of gates. The one in my head in particular, which used to be a home airport for me, has 15 gates. But I was thinking, like, am I only going to go like major airports that, everyone will kind of know or has a better chance to have been to, or go with some of those smaller gate airports. So I think what I'll do is go with the original 3 that I, kind of had in mind, and they are all like major airports.
And I'm going to allow some honorable mentions. I'll allow honorable mentions.
But number 1 for me, first and foremost, it's not even close, is your former home airport, Will. BWI.
Oh, yeah.
That was
my number 1.
BWI is a phenomenal airport. It's so good, man.
I have never had a bad time at BWI, and there are so many airports that I cannot say that for. BWI is, for me, was like strictly fun because I had only connected there. I used to connect there constantly. I, again, am from Nashville, but lived in Manchester, New Hampshire for some time. And
shout out the Monarchs.
Yeah. Is that the Well, the Fisher Cats are the
baseball.
baseball
Oh, the Fisher
team.
Cats. I was thinking, isn't there an AHL Manchester Monarchs?
Oh, yes. They were the minor league affiliate of the Los Angeles Kings, which makes no geographic sense.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't know that
they don't exist anymore. Okay.
Yeah, no, they're gone. But BWI, I used to connect in a lot, and it was always like a fairly long connection. So I always had time to stop and sit at the Harbor Grill within BWI, which is just the best airport bar of all time. First of all, it defies physics, the Harbor Grill does, because any airport that you go into, most of the time the bars, like, you might find a seat for you. You might find a tiny place to put your bag. That is a miracle if you're even able to do that. If you're flying with another person, the odds of like finding 2 seats at an airport bar for both of you are slim to none. Like, that's not happening. The Harbor Grill is a fantastic airport bar and somehow always has ample space for, like, you can just sit down and be like, have all of the room that you need. And yet it's not like a gigantic airport bar. It just, for some reason, has ample space. There's an incredible television setup at the Harbor Grill.
There is.
The TV's really good. I was connecting there once, flying into Manchester, and there was a Monday Night Football game about to start. I even remember that it was Saints Falcons. Like, I remember the Monday Night Football game, and I sat down at the bar and was just like, I wish I could sit and watch this entire Monday Night Football game here at the Harbor Grill at BWI. And then my flight got delayed like another 2 hours. And I've never been happier. I did exactly that. And like, the game ended, and like, as soon as the game ended, it was time to like go board, get on the plane to Manchester. So yeah, BWI is my number one. It's really cool to see. I don't know if either of you have ever seen it, but the like Baltimore Fire Department trains like in the woods outside of BW. Like, I was boarding a flight one time and there was just a gigantic fire out the window, and I was the only one like looking around. Like, that was not normal. Like, everyone else is just on their phone. And I'm like, there's a fire, like a gigantic fire right here, like and no one else is concerned about this. So I finally asked someone, and the lady was like from Baltimore, and so she was like, yeah, that's where the fire department like trains and stuff. So it was just completely normal.
That's wild,
and it was kind of really neat to see. So that's my number one. Number two, I've not flown into but one time, but it made so much of an impression on me that I had to include it on this list. Number two is Oakland, California. The reason for this is it's a smaller airport. Like, it's not a Greenville, South Carolina. It is not a Spokane, Washington. But I was just surprised that Oakland, California had an airport that wasn't, really large. And I'm assuming, I've never flown into San Francisco, but when you have the option of Oakland, I don't understand why anyone would fly into San Francisco. I also thought that it would take, I know that those two places are close together, but I was going to San Francisco. I was staying in a hotel in downtown San Francisco, and I was like, flying into Oakland, it's going to take an hour and a half, or I don't know. I was just coming up with a number in my head to get to downtown San Francisco. It was 20 minutes.
That's crazy.
It took 20 minutes to get from the Oakland airport to downtown San Francisco. I do not know if that's common.
That's a lot faster than it took me in like October or September when I went to San Francisco to get from SFO to my hotel in downtown San Francisco. So yeah, you might have cracked the code.
Yeah, no, just fly into Oakland. There's like a train, like a shuttle that goes straight into San Francisco as well. We did not take it. We took the we just took an Uber, and to get across the bridge, whatever, it was 20 minutes. I liked Oakland a lot for the convenience of it.
Matt,
I thought it was an incredibly convenient airport.
As an ex-Californian, your thoughts?
So, it's funny. Everything comes back to Spokane. The only time I have flown through Oakland was I flew from the Oakland airport to Spokane.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
What airline services that route?
Southwest.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so Oakland, number 2, and what's number 3 on your list?
Number 3 is a bit of a, I guess, sort of a homer pick too. Obviously, I'm making this was like, I'm glad you asked prior, like, what are your home airports? Because like, I'm not just going to pick B&A. That would be no fun. But number 3 for me has to be Boston Logan.
Interesting.
I think it is a very, like, I've never had problems at Boston Logan. I do not, there's very, very rarely have I been delayed there. It is the airport I probably know like best, including B&A. Like, I know every tile of the floor at Boston Logan. I have flown there so much. And there are ample food options. It kind of varies by terminal as well. Like, a couple of the terminals are better than others at Logan. But I think it's a fantastic airport. I have a couple of go-to places there as well that I go to sit at bars and eat. There's really good food there. But that kind of rounds out my top 3, and I'll hold for, honorable mentions if you.
The last meal I had before leaving on my semester abroad in January of 2018 was a crab roll at Legal Seafood at the Boston Logan Airport.
Yeah.
So there's a fact about me.
Shout out to the crabs.
I like how over the top that Logan is with Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
It's like, we are going to fully buy in to this stereotype about our city. Like, we are going to have a Dunkin' every 10 feet.
Yeah, they leaned in heavy.
Yeah.
So my top 3, we already talked about BWI. It's on my list. I think BWI is a phenomenal airport. Like, a lot of people seem to think that BWI is like unimpressive for its size. Like, I think it's the small, or by passengers flown, it's like the least busy U.S. airport with a transatlantic flight. There's a BWI to Heathrow flight, which I've taken the Heathrow to BWI flight. But anyway, like, it's just a good airport. For its size, obviously it's a Southwest hub. It has shockingly good networks for Delta and United. The Chick-fil-A in BWI in that AB concourse is the best restaurant in Baltimore, as I've been known to say. I've certainly eaten at that Chick-fil-A more than any other Chick-fil-A in my life, and I love it. Taylor, I was shocked when the place that you shouted out was in the C concourse, which, like, you're right. Harbor Grill's terrific. It was just shocking to hear that part of the airport get shouted out. I'm very excited about the AB connector that they're building between those two concourses. My only gripe about BWI is, now that I'm not a Southwest loyalist, if I'm going to go back to Baltimore and fly United, I'm not in the terminal that I prefer. But still, I give them credit for having the solid network. Number 2, I'm going to go London Heathrow. It's somewhere I've found myself a few times recently and will find myself a few times here coming up. My number 1 favorite thing about Heathrow is trains to the city. Like, we always hear about, like, how great trains are in Europe. And then you go to some of these airports, Barcelona, where, like the trains to the center of the city, the access is just terrible. Either they're infrequent or they're slow, or it's just in some way worse than taking an Uber or a cab. The fact that I can leave London Heathrow, get on the Heathrow Express or the Elizabeth line, and in like half an hour or less be in central London, remarkable. And then obviously you can get there from anywhere, and you can get anywhere from there. Like, I'm flying to the lesser of the two airports on the island of Crete, and I can fly there from London Heathrow. Like, why? It's great in that respect. It's not like the experience of being a passenger there is incredible. It's not like British Airways is amazing, but between the network and then the access to the city, I think it's phenomenal. And then I'm kind of going, I think, low on the board for this one. But, and I will acknowledge my proximity bias, LaGuardia is a really solid airport today. It wasn't before. It was terrible. But the Delta terminal and the United terminal, which I think is also the Southwest terminal, are both totally updated. They're really good. You can get good food, especially in the Delta terminal. Some of the places, like the New York spots that they got Bubbies in the Delta terminal, like phenomenal. But even in the United terminal, really good food, very well connected airport. And the best thing about LaGuardia is if you're flying out of there, it means you're not at JFK and you're not in Newark. And I can't describe what a benefit it is. And I think BWI has some of the same thing where I don't want to, especially if I'm living in Baltimore, I don't want to go to Dulles. I don't want to go to Reagan. Like, having that third airport that's in a really good sweet spot in an area where the others have obvious drawbacks, I think does a lot for both BWI and LaGuardia on my list. Let's do just a round of honorable mentions. Who didn't make your list? Who are the first couple out?
BWI for sure was on my list. Other than that, I don't really think I had too many others that stood out. I mean, shout out to South Bend, of course. But,
SBN, baby.
But yeah, I don't think I had too many others that were as in high regard.
Taylor, what do you got?
Yeah, so I alluded to this one in what I was talking about, but MHT, Manchester, New Hampshire, fantastic airport.
Wow.
I love that airport. It's only 15 gates. When Matt was talking to us about Greenville, South Carolina, like it is Greenville, South Carolina, right? Yeah. I mean, yep. It sounded like he was describing the Richmond, Virginia airport to me. I don't know if anyone's been there, but Never. Richmond is another fantastic small gate airport. Big ones, like, major airports that I think, I was, kind of bouncing around with on my list. MDW, Midway. Yep. I love Midway. Everyone has a fun time. That is like when people talk about like there's no time at airports and you can like drink a lot at 7 o'clock in the morning and everyone's having fun. That's what I have seen at Midway more than anyone anywhere else.
Totally.
Detroit, DGW.
Yep.
I think it's a really good airport.
You're flying there tonight?
Yeah.
Matt, it's a holiday tomorrow, right?
Work goes on.
All right.
Yeah. And then the other MCO, Orlando, I think is a underrated, especially for the amount of volume that they have. I think Orlando has every excuse to be not a good airport, and yet it is.
Yeah, so with the Orlando mention, that's the first time any of us has mentioned a top 10 busiest U.S. airport in a positive way on this episode. Previously, we topped out at 16 with Logan. And now we're going to get into, I have some honorable mentions. South Bend, Midway, and Detroit were all on my honorable mentions list. Midway, I think I've very rarely had on-time performance out of Midway. I just haven't cared. Like, I just enjoy being there. I really don't mind it. Couple of others. I was in Kansas City like a month and a half ago.
Really nice after the renovation.
The new airport in Kansas City is unbelievably good. Salt Lake has a pretty good airport. Love Field, I think, is a very good airport.
Yes.
So just wanted to make sure those got their shout outs.
I really like the Chili's in Love Field. It's a fantastic Chili's.
Oh yeah, everyone goes right to the Chick-fil-A and the Whataburger, but the Chili's is just hidden.
That's awesome.
And it's like they have a bar in the middle of like the hallway at Love. There's like the actual Chili's, but the Chili's bar is in the middle of like the just hallway where people are walking each direction,
which is a very Midway feature to have.
Yes.
All right, bottom 3 airports, Matthew.
Number 1, you already mentioned it. It is much better after the renovation, but still, Newark, terrible experiences all around. Despite it being the closest to my parents' house, it is like when it was the old Terminal A, and you used to just have like you had to go up this specific like aisleway, and there were like 8 gates down there and 1 Hudson News, and you were going to have a terrible time.
Yeah,
that's by far number 1. Number 2, Philadelphia. Philadelphia Airport is actually my least favorite. Like Newark has gotten better, but Philly is terrible. There's too many people. It's all over the place. Number 3, Atlanta. There's just too much going on.
Yeah, I think those are all very reasonable choices. Taylor?
So yes, Hartsfield Jackson in Atlanta is my number 1. That was my home airport for about 10 months. So I've flown out of there many times. It is the worst. It is truly the worst for me. It just there is nothing fun about being there. The entire time seems stressful. There's no real like redeeming. Like I'm okay with an airport being like really, really busy if there are redeeming qualities of the airport, whether it's food, shops,
I have one.
Whatever. Okay.
There's a Jersey Mike's at the Atlanta airport, and I think that is just a fantastic airport meal.
That's a fair. I think that's fair, and I also have one, which I'm spoiling a later part of the podcast, but our next prompt was worst airport experience you had this year. And mine was after the national championship game, trying to get to the Atlanta airport in the snow, which I did on Marta. And then the security lines were all messed up. But when I was in the Sky Club, I was sitting next to all-pro safety Notre Dame's Kyle Hamilton, and we talked for a little bit, and that was lovely. But that's the only good thing that's ever happened to me at the Atlanta airport.
Yeah, I have nothing good has ever happened to me at the Atlanta airport. I got nothing. Number 2 is okay. There are some caveats here because my number 2 is in a great city, a fantastic city that everyone loves this place.
This might be on my list as well, the way you're introducing it.
And the second caveat is I have heard that potentially the rest of this airport is pretty good. It's just that this terminal sucks. Like it is the worst. And that is San Diego. So the Southwest terminal at San Diego is like have you guys seen that show Silo? I'm
aware of the show.
Yeah. So if you know about the concept, like, people live in a silo, and that is what the Southwest terminal is like in San Diego. It is a circle. It's like you go in and you are trapped in a giant cylinder and you are elbow to elbow. I mean, at least I was in my experience a couple times, like elbow to elbow with people. And the only direction that like you can walk is in a circle. So it was a really, really weird, small little terminal. I don't know if there are other, terminals with Southwest flights. I assume that there are. There has to be, because this was a really small kind of, terminal, and there were shops along the outside. There was one restaurant/bar in the middle that, I mean, there was a 0% chance of ever sitting down. In fact, like all of the gates there were like 10 gates in this terminal, and like you couldn't find a seat at a gate.
You're just describing the old Newark airport.
Yeah.
You're also describing the old New Orleans airport, but I'll get to that.
So San Diego is my number 2, but if either of you like have, other experiences at San Diego, I would love to hear them, because I've heard like it's just that terminal that's bad. Number 3 for me, again, has one redeeming quality, but the rest of it's horrible. Number 3 for me is Las Vegas.
Yes.
Yeah. The baggage claim at Las Vegas is truly the worst baggage claim I have ever seen in my life. It is gigantic yet inefficient. You would think it would be good because of how big it is, but it is the Las Vegas airport baggage claim is just a real cluster. And I just kind of hate the walking off a plane and getting right into slot machines everywhere. There's again just far too much going on. I understand like that is what Las Vegas is for. Like, but can we wait until we get to the Strip to do it all? Like, I don't need the slot machines and stuff everywhere in the airport. The one positive caveat I was going to say is that like its proximity to, like, if you're going to Las Vegas, you're probably staying somewhere on the main Strip in Las Vegas. Its proximity to the Strip is very good. Like, you can get to the Strip from the airport in like less than 10 minutes, but that's assuming you can get a cab pretty quickly or an Uber, which is probably not going to happen.
Time out. If you're calling an Uber in Vegas, like they literally have the cab line that it's like next up.
Yeah. Like Uber's not really a thing in Vegas. I just, but the cab line took us, over an hour to get one.
That's crazy.
It's insane. So yeah, Las Vegas is my number 3.
Love it. So my bottom 3, pretty resoundingly worst airport experience I've ever had, at least in the United States, is Tweed, which is New Haven, Connecticut's airport. It's only served by like Breeze and Avelo, and it has like 2 or 3 gates. I don't think they fly anything bigger than an A220 out of that airport, and they still don't have enough space inside to hold like the number of people who could need to get on 2 or 3 A220s in the next 2 hours. Just an absolute nightmare of an airport. Terrible operations, terrible food, what little food is available, nowhere to sit. Just truly, truly awful airport. I do not recommend anyone ever go to New York, go to Boston, go to Bradley, which is in Windsor Locks, the Hartford Springfield Airport. Just anything else. So Tweed, resoundingly the worst. Next, JFK. A lot of my experiences with the Newark airport have been with the new A terminal or Terminal 1 or whatever it is that we were just talking about. And that's fine. Like, having to take NJ Transit and then the air train, and it being the farthest away on the air train, having to walk 20 minutes after you get off of it, like, all of that is bad. But at least once I'm inside, it's like fine now. And I can get like BurgerFi or Shake Shack and just like chill out. JFK, I feel like the madness never stops. Either you take the subway all the way out there, which is terrible. You have to transfer at Jamaica, no matter if you take the subway or the Long Island Railroad, or you can take like a $250 Uber that takes 7 hours. Like, it should not be as hard as it is to get to what is ostensibly New York's main airport from the part of New York where everyone lives. So JFK, horrible. Where are we coming back from? Maybe it was San Francisco. We ended up in like one of the JFK terminals that feels like a prison. Like, those should not still exist. After what they did to LaGuardia, that any part of JFK is still bad is just heinous. So bad access, bad terminals, just absolutely cannot stand it. And last, it's got to be O'Hare. like, as I said, Terminal 5 at O'Hare, where they have Delta and some of the like international airlines, really good now. They have that nice Delta lounge. You can board your flight right from it. They got a Chick-fil-A. It's never crowded. That terminal, great. But
wait, have you ever
everything
flown Southwest into Terminal 5?
No, but Terminal 5, I have already come out in favor of. It will not be changing my opinion. Is it bad?
It is approximately a 1 mile walk from the Southwest
Oh,
gates
yeah.
to get to the baggage claim.
Yeah, it's huge, and it's laid out in a way that, like, there's no, like, way back around. Like, you just keep getting further away. So I feel you there. That makes sense. But everything that United and American are doing at O'Hare sucks. Everything is 50 years old. The best food at the airport is McDonald's, which, like, that's not a problem. I love a good airport McDonald's, but, like, I would like something more from the fourth busiest airport in America. Anytime you have to go to the D, E, F, G, H, those gates at O'Hare where American and United start mixing, game over. Like, I can't do this. Just a bad airport. Honorable mentions, Taylor, when you were talking about San Diego, I thought you were going to say Austin. Just an airport that's not the right size for the city and doesn't have the right network to handle a city of that size. New Orleans has gotten better with the renovations, but is still pretty bad.
It's also located in Baton Rouge, approximately.
It is far away.
Well, that's what I thought about O'Hare. It's like
O'Hare is also too far away.
O'Hare
and the
feels
train
like
that
you
goes
land
there sucks.
Well, like, even when you land at O'Hare, I don't know what terminal. I've only flown into O'Hare twice. I mostly connect in Chicago, and it's mostly been Midway. But with O'Hare, it's like, again, flown in twice, and both times it was like, did we land in Indiana or in Valparaiso, Indiana or something? Because it takes forever to taxi to the gate. Like, it's the longest.
Yes.
It is. It's like, how far away from the airport are we? When we
you can spend almost as much time taxiing as you do in flight. It's crazy.
Yeah.
O'Hare's out of control with that stuff. All right, Matt, the worst airport experience you had in the last 365 days.
Okay, so a little under a year ago, my wife and I were flying to Newark we were going to a wedding.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah, this was bad.
And so the thing about the DFW area in the spring is that we just get these thunderstorms that come through, and DFW just becomes a nightmare because so many people are laying over on American. But these thunderstorms come through, they have to do a ground stop. But so our flight just kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed. And then all of a sudden it's like 5-6 hours later. I think we might have even gotten on the plane and then we had to get off because there's a mechanical issue. And it just gets delayed. Then finally we give up and we're like, all right, we're just going home. The flight actually ended up taking off like an hour and a half later. But by that point it was like 3 a.m. We were like, yeah, we're done. We're just not going to go. We timed out. We got a refund. Okay. So we weren't going to go to something a month later in New York. But once we got this refund, we were like, oh, why don't we go to that? Same thing happened. We actually got on the plane, went to taxi. We sat on the taxiway for like a half hour. And then they were like, actually, we have to go back to the gate. We timed out. And it's like, why didn't we just take off?
Yeah.
But so, yes, a month apart. And it was the same exact flight to Newark. It was like the 7 p.m. flight on the Friday night to Newark. Both times, one it ended up taking off, but we left. And then the other one canceled, and just not a good time.
That's awful. Taylor, your worst airport experience of the last year.
Yeah, so I'll very briefly preface by saying, like, as you looked up earlier in the episode, that BNA Southwest is the dominant airline. So, like, if something happens to your Southwest flight at BNA, they're pretty good about, like, well, we're just going to put you on this other flight, right? I mean, I had a flight get canceled to BWI. We got off the plane. They were like, whatever, we're just going to send you to Midway, and you can go from there. Fine. JetBlue, as I said, only flies to 2 destinations out of Nashville, Boston and Logan and JFK. So I had a very early morning flight to Logan, and we got on the plane. I mean, we were minutes away from takeoff. Everything seemed to be going very smoothly before they, came over the, intercom and said, something's up. We have to fix this plane, but it should only be a few minutes. A few minutes turned into 45, which turned into us having to deboard the plane. And they had to get maintenance over there, but said that maintenance was tied up with another issue. It just depended on when they could get them over there. Then they came up with this idea where they were like, hey, we have 2 planes here. This one's supposed to go to JFK later. We can fix this one by the time the people going to JFK get here. Let's just take this plane to Boston. And so we ended up getting onto that plane, and it also needed maintenance. So we had to deboard again.
Oh my gosh.
It is now, this was like a 5:15 flight, and it is now like 11 a.m. Okay. And a woman, I'm standing near the gate agent, and a woman who said, hey, you guys have another flight to JFK, down a ways, and there's a flight to Boston there and there, she was like, can we get on that plane and just make our way to Boston from there? And the guy was like, there's only 1 seat on that flight. And I was like, I'm by myself. Maybe I should do that. So I get into this conversation with the gate agent, and this is what really makes it a terrible thing, is just like, I was like, is this plane going to take off? And he was like, we honestly don't know. He was like, but what I can tell you is if you do take that last seat on that flight to New York, like, you will get to Boston by this. Like, it's a guarantee, but I don't know if you'll get there to Boston on this plane. I said, well, I'm going to take the guarantee. I'm going to risk it and take the guarantee. It was sort of a gamble. So I got on the flight to JFK, which there was no Wi-Fi for whatever reason, but classic. I land, turned my phone back on, and sure enough, that flight that I decided that, was up in the air of whether it would go, whether it would not, did take off and was going to land in Boston in about 15 minutes.
No.
And here I was in New York with about a 3-hour layover until my flight into Boston from New York, which I thought it was funny. I passed a gate, and the flight was on its, the plane was on its way to Reno, and I am taking a trip to Tahoe this year. And I thought about it. I was like, man, I have to book those flights to Tahoe. And it stuck with me. I got a gate change after the 3-hour, layover, which was like, hey, your gate's been changed to this gate. I was like, that's funny. That's the gate that was going to Reno. And so we get on that plane, and it was like, oh, this flight was going to Reno. There's way too much gas in it. We cannot land in Logan. So that was another 45-minute delay. So, I realized this is long-winded, but, I was supposed to land in Boston at about 10 a.m. Eastern time. I landed in Boston at 8:55 p.m.
Oh God.
Eastern time. It was the worst experience, absolutely, for the year. I've had others where, I didn't get there the same day, had multiple day things, but within the last year, that was the absolute worst.
Yeah, that sounds bad. For me, I talked about the Atlanta airport in the snow and getting heavily delayed there. I talked about any time I had to go to the DEFG HIJK LMNOP gates at O'Hare, but truly the worst experience I had this year was I was scheduled to be on a flight from Midway to LaGuardia. While I was at Midway, that flight got canceled. This is like coming up on the 4th of July is what we're like, that, whatever, the Thursday or Friday preceding the 4th of July. That flight gets canceled. So I get in an Uber from Midway to O'Hare, which is a nightmare of a thing to have to do. And I get myself booked on this O'Hare to LaGuardia flight. I'm in the boarding line, like literally the next person who's about to scan my boarding pass. And the pilot or someone walks back up the jet bridge and is like, this flight's not taking off. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I like waited out for a little bit and they just keep delaying it. I'm supposed to go to New York City. Let's just keep that in mind. I start looking like, can I get to anywhere else? Can I get to Philadelphia? Can I get to, like, I don't even know where, but so I slip, like, can I get somewhere in the New York metro? Looking at a departure board, I see that there's a flight to Bradley Airport in Windsor Locks, Connecticut, which was my home airport growing up, leaving in like 10 minutes. So I bolt from one end of the B gates to the other at O'Hare, run up to the gate agent. I'm like, hey, this is what happened to me. Can I get on your flight? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, this is amazing. Everything is going great. I'm not going to go to New York. I'm just going to go to Connecticut. I'll visit family, whatever. Which was my plan, but there was supposed to be a day in between. Great. Okay. Flight to Bradley takes off on time. I get to Bradley, which again is not where I was planning to go. Get in an Uber to go stay with family. And as I'm like 5 minutes away from my destination, get a call from my dad that he goes, hey, your grandmother just died. And I'm like, this is just not what we needed. Not what we needed at all. So that was my worst. And that's how these things go sometimes.
I think Will wins.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. I think Matt wins because the worst part of mine was that my grandmother died, which was awful and is the worst individual thing that happened in any of our stories, but was not caused by an airport or an airline. It would just surrounded that situation. Anyway, best airport food you had this year, Matthew?
I already said the Atlanta Airport Jersey Mike's and the Chick-fil-A and Houston Hobby. Which
Strong.
To add to the Houston Hobby one, when I was most recently there a month and a half ago, I got there right at like 11 a.m. or 10:30, whatever it is when they switch over from breakfast. So I got like the freshest sandwich and fries.
That's beautiful. That's a beautiful thing. Taylor.
Easy. I have had it not just within the last year, but many times. There's a restaurant within the Orlando Airport MCO, Cask and Larder. It is pretty distinct because there's a big tree in the middle of it.
I love the Rainforest Cafe.
Yeah. It kind of looks like a rainforest cafe, but in the middle of the Orlando airport, and it's called Cask and Larder. But the burger at Cask and Larder is incredible. I didn't know if I was the only one that thought I'm not a person that looks at reviews normally. Like I kind of forget that things can be reviewed and you can look them up. Sure. I looked up Cask and Larder, and all the way down the list on Google is 5-star reviews. Like everyone loves this place. The burger it's a double burger, but it's not, I wouldn't go as far as to say a smash burger. Like they're not super thin. There's still a little thickness to like the burger patties, but they are so good. The bun is brioche. And it comes with, I think this is the trendy thing to do to burgers now is to put like some sort of either pepper jelly or bacon jam on them. They do a bacon jam, and it is incredible. The way they do it, it's the best since that sort of trend has come out where it's like, do you want like a pepper jelly or a bacon jam on your burger? Cask and Larder at the Orlando airport does it better than anyone else. Fantastic airport burger.
That is a great answer. I have a few shout outs. Obviously, I already shouted out the BWI Chick-fil-A, which is the best restaurant in Baltimore, arguably the world's best Chick-fil-A. Shout out to the Silver Diner in Baltimore, which is not somewhere I went very often, but if I was ever like delayed or something, was a great place to go. Absolutely phenomenal milkshakes there. That's my favorite thing at the Silver Diner. But I had burn ends at a pretty like unassuming barbecue spot in the Kansas City airport, and holy cow, were they good. That's far and away my best airport food experience of the year. I had some other Kansas City barbecue the day prior, and the burn ends absolutely stacked up, if not beat the pulled pork I'd gotten the day before. So really was surprised and impressed by that experience. All right, guys, at the risk of running long, I just want to open the floor to any airport, airline, or air travel topics you've been itching to get out on this episode. Matt, I feel like this is very much your domain.
Oh, well, I think I can narrow it down. I've got two. One is just shout out to Flighty, because guys just want an app or something where they can just accumulate data on something, whether it's like sports games they've been to or their flights. So shout out Flighty. Hopefully they sponsor the podcast.
We are welcoming sponsorships.
Yes. The second thing I wanted to talk about was so the DFW airport, or the DFW area, I should say, for those of you who have never been, is a sprawling suburbia. And
a metroplex, if you will.
Some people call it the metroplex. But so we've got Love Field, like Chicago. Love Field's the original airport. Then they built DFW. That those both are the passenger airports. So McKinney Airport, which is one of the northeast suburbs of Dallas, they are turning this into a passenger airport as well. So it'll be our third airport. They said Avello is going to establish it as a hub. They haven't announced.
So sorry.
They haven't announced any routes from the airport, nor what the second airline will be. They said there's going to be two. So I'm just curious to see who's going to be flying out of there and what the flights are going to be. Because I have this working theory that American Airlines is more expensive when you book round trips out of DFW than if you were to, say, book a round trip that goes through DFW. I actually have proof of this, that I was looking at flights when to go to Detroit a couple months ago for work, and a DFW to Detroit flight, like a couple of days before, was like, I think the one way was like $800, or the round trip was $800. But if I were to fly out of the Tyler, Texas airport and fly through DFW to go to Detroit, because I was going to have to be there for work as well, it would have been $600 round trip. So DFW is like price gouging the Metroplex in some way. I don't know how to explain it other than that. So I'm just curious to see what the what's going to be going on at McKinney Airport.
The rumors are it's another low cost carrier. Like it's right. Like it'll be a Avello and Frontier or something like that.
Yeah. So Frontier and Spirit both operate out of DFW in Terminal E for everything else. For those of you who don't know, American operates solely out of, so they pretty much they're the only ones in A, B, and C. They're primarily in D, but D is the international terminal. So you have like a lot of other things going on. And then every other airline in America flies into Terminal E, but also American flies like their puddle jumpers out of E.
That's
so like if you're going to like Stillwater, Oklahoma, or Abilene, Texas, or Tyler, Texas, you're going to fly out of Terminal E. But all that's to say is my bet is that it's going to be Allegiant, because they don't fly to the Dallas area at all. But I have no basis for this.
Matt, on the topic of Flighty, what was your most flown aircraft type this year? Because I feel like it was probably like a ERJ 175 or something.
No, so I primarily am flying like they have like their full size planes. But let's see, in 2025,
I don't know. I just figured because you were going to all those small airports. I also know American loves the A319.
My most common was the 737-800.
Oh, interesting. That's surprising to me, given the places you go and my thoughts about American's fleet. Taylor, any topics you want to just introduce for the group?
Yeah, we're gonna create an entire lineup card of airports and what positions they would play. No, okay, I'm kidding. We're not doing that. We're not doing that.
BWI shortstop.
I had him batting third.
I mean, he's
BWI. Yeah,
he's
batting
third. Yeah.
DFW is your starting pitcher. It's an absolute workhorse.
Okay.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah, DFW, Atlanta.
I think it may have just been for alliteration, but Spokane, Washington is our shortstop. Even though I've never been there, that's our leadoff hitter and shortstop.
Spokane, Washington is our Freddie Sanchez.
Yeah. But no, I was going to say, like, I mean, the things you talked about, like puddle jumpers. At least here, I have a question for you guys, but first I'll talk. You reminded me, you were talking about like the puddle jump. We are getting, at least at BNA, a lot more direct flights to very sort of random destinations through Allegiant.
Oh, sure.
They seem to be expanding big time, at least here. I still have yet to fly Allegiant, but it's becoming really convenient for, like, my dad, for example, lives in Sarasota, Florida. He used to have to fly Nashville to Tampa and vice versa.
Yeah.
Tampa's like an hour away from Sarasota. The Sarasota Bradenton Airport.
Is that SRQ?
Man, I'll be shocked. Someone look it up. I don't have it in front of me, but
SRQ, baby.
Wow, what a pull. Okay, let's see
my IATA codes, baby.
Let's see if you can get the next one, because the direct flight that he does is Sarasota to Knoxville.
Oh, I do not know Knoxville. Matt, do you?
No, I don't. But
I would guess like KNX, but
I think it's TYS.
Yeah,
it's McGee Tyson.
McGee Tyson. Yeah.
Oh, that's like the CVG, like Covington, Ohio, being the like Louisville, Cincinnati thing. Yeah. Okay.
But that's been super convenient for him to be able to do that, because he actually lives closer to Knoxville now in Tennessee anyway. He lives closer to Knoxville than he does Nashville. But I mean, and my girlfriend's parents have a condo in Orange Beach, Alabama. And she's always like, do you want to go like just for the weekend or something? It's like, I don't want to drive 8 hours to Orange Beach, Alabama for a weekend.
That's fair.
Now, starting this year, there's a direct flight from Nashville to Gulf Shores, Alabama, which is 10 minutes away from Orange Beach.
That's insane.
Yeah, like that I'll do. I'll do that.
And is that Allegiant?
That's Allegiant.
Wow.
I've only flown Allegiant once. They have a bunch of flights out of South Bend, and so I flew to Punta Gorda my senior year, and it was good. I had a fine time. It's a budget airline, but they go a lot of places.
I thought that was insane.
Where did you connect, Matt?
So that's the thing with Allegiant, is they don't do connections.
Oh, it's like the point-to-point type deal?
Yeah, like
there was a South Bend to Punta Gorda flight?
Allegiant's like whole business model is flying people to Vegas, Phoenix Mesa, or Florida. So like all of their flights are just like pick a random airport in like the Northeast or the Midwest, and then they fly to like all these Florida airports. They fly to Vegas. So
I know you used to, at one point at least, you could go to the lesser Orlando airport from South Bend on Allegiant, like Sanford or whatever.
Yep.
That's wild. All right. What do you think? And I'll mostly wrap up with this. Single best air travel experience you've ever had, whether it was airline, airplane, airport, destination, whatever it might be. And I can go first because I just sprung this one on you guys, unless either of you has one totally ready to go.
No, all you will.
No, go ahead.
Okay. So, I was inclined to say that it would be the flight that my wife and I took from Philadelphia to Madrid at the beginning of our honeymoon, because we flew in business class on American and they gave us ice cream sundaes, and the ice cream sundaes were phenomenal. And that was the best air travel experience I had had for like 11 days. But then on our flight back from our honeymoon, which was London to BWI, we were supposed to be booked in premium economy. My wife DM'd British Airways and was like, hey, we'd really love to be upgraded if there's anything you can do. Night before our flight, the route has an equipment change, goes from a 787 to a 777. The British Airways 777 is way heavier on business class and way lighter on premium economy. So we were among the people who got bumped up from premium economy into business class. And the great thing about flying business class back from Europe, the great thing about flying it there is you get to lie down and fall asleep. The great thing about flying it back is you're in this awesome seat and they just keep giving you like wine and food and stuff, and you're awake the entire time. So that British Airways 777 business class, London to BWI, hands down best air travel experience I've ever had.
That's going to be hard to top. I don't have anything that comes to mind. The only thing I can think of is for my bachelor party, I went to Glacier National Park in Montana. And because it's summer and it's DFW Airport, there's a direct flight there. And it was like both flights took off on time. It was really smooth and the landing's pretty nice with the mountains and all. Honorable mention, I haven't done it yet, but I do want to do the flight into Jackson Hole for that reason.
Oh, that's got to be cool.
In the park. But yeah, nothing's going to top that one. I have gotten upgraded a couple times now to first class on American, just because I'm with the status with traveling. But that was just El Paso to Dallas, so nothing too exciting.
Wait, Matt, before we go to Taylor, do you want to call out American for the way they just completely neutered basic economy tickets?
Oh, yeah. Used to, there was like a loophole for a while where you could book a basic economy ticket and still pay for your seat, and it'd be cheaper than booking a main ticket. But
and your basic economy fare would earn you points, right?
Yes, and your basic economy fare would earn you points. But now they got rid of those points, so it's like, well, I guess I'll pay the extra $80 and get a main ticket and go from there.
Yeah. So for anyone who's not up to date, this is like in the last month or so, American announced that if you buy a basic economy ticket, you will no longer earn points for that flight, regardless of what extras you buy or anything else. You cannot earn points on American on a basic economy ticket. So like for what I think is probably an airline that would like to be doing a lot better than it is, to kind of cut the legs out from under what's likely a significant portion of its passengers, really highly questionable move. And I don't know, I've been tapping into a lot of like airport industry podcasts and literature lately, because that's the kind of person I am. And there seems to be a consensus that like there can only be 2 premium airlines in the US, and we already know which ones they are. And that pretty much every strategic move American has tried to make in the last whatever window you want to look at has failed. And this feels like 100% like stepping on the shovel and having the handle come and hit you in the face, because
it was a big advantage they had over United.
Totally.
For that, like yes, you still get your carry-on with basic economy, which like that's a huge advantage. But it's like, oh yeah, you would get a carry-on and earn points for that lower price point.
Yeah. No, it's really bad. Anyway, Taylor.
Yeah. Real quick. I had 2 that kind of came to mind. Neither are anything crazy. Certainly, they don't top yours. One was the first and only time that I was bumped to first class. It was one of the. It was on Delta, and again, it was only a 2-hour flight. But the Delta gate agent, they needed more check bags. I was like, I'd never mind that if you need them. please go ahead. And he took my bag and was just like, thanks, want to sit first class? And it was like, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, I do.
Yeah, and it was incredible. And I did fly Delta a lot when I lived in New England.
Yep.
I flew Delta more than anything else. Boston, I think, is a Delta hub. But it was funny after that one occurrence. That's pretty much every Delta flight. They ask for more, check bags, and so I would run to the a gate agent, be like, "Here's my bag," and they'd be like, "Thanks." I'd be like, "Do you have anything for me?" Kind of give them the here's my bag. We appreciate it. Yes, but how much do you appreciate it? Kind of trying to insinuate, am I going to sit first class? And it never happened ever again. So that was cool. And then there was one time, this was Southwest. I surprisingly connected. I've talked about Orlando a lot on this episode, and a route that I took back to Nashville from Manchester a lot was Manchester to Orlando to Nashville, which doesn't take nearly as long as you'd think. But it was just a really odd scenario where the flight I had in this particular instance from Orlando to Nashville, I remember them saying had 15 people on it. I have never had a flight like that before or since. But yeah, 250 passenger plane, there were 15 people on this Southwest flight. And it was just a really cool thing to experience once.
So I had a similar experience. I had gone to Chicago for the Fall Out Boy Weezer Green Day concert at Wrigley Field. And then I needed to fly from Chicago to Charleston, which is a Southwest route. And I get to Midway in plenty of time. I'm at the airport. I go check out my gate. Everything's fine. I go back around the time that we're supposed to board, and I don't really see anything going on. Nobody's lined up or anything. I wait 5 minutes, nothing's happening. I wait 5 more minutes, nothing's happening. Eventually I go up to the gate agent, and I don't think I had my big headphones on or anything. So I don't know how this happened, but I go up to the gate agent and I'm like, "Hey, what's going on? Are we it doesn't say we're delayed. So why isn't anything happening?" She's like, "We've been calling your name for 10 minutes. Get on the plane. You're the last one." I get on the plane, could not have been more than 15 or 20 people on it. So somehow the boarding just happened without me noticing because there were so few people. And it made me almost miss my flight. So I'm glad that you didn't have a traumatic experience in the way that I did with that one. Okay, truly the last thing, just because I have a weird answer to it. What do you think, if you had to guess, is the most frequently flown route that you've taken in your life all time?
Question: can it be city to city? Or
yes, it can be city to city instead of airport to airport.
Okay. Because I know what my top 3 city to city are.
Okay.
My top 3 city to city is definitely New York, Chicago.
Yep.
Chicago, Dallas, and then Dallas, New York. Some combination of airports and airlines with those are definitely my top 3.
That makes sense. Taylor, what do you think yours would be?
It's definitely it's almost 2 halves of my life. When I was a kid, it was Nashville to Tampa and all the time. Now it is if I haven't flown Nashville to Boston and vice versa, when I lived in New England, as many times as I've done Nashville to Tampa, it has to be getting close. But yeah, I would say at this point, it's probably Nashville to Boston and vice versa.
I was in the Tampa airport when Brian Kelly announced that he was leaving Notre Dame for LSU. And that was because what I think is almost certainly my most frequently flown route was too expensive for work to approve it that week. And that is Baltimore to San Juan. I was on an extended client engagement in San Juan, Puerto Rico, when I was living in Baltimore, and countless times. I mean, for more than a year, every week, I did Baltimore to San Juan. So that has to be my most frequent flight, which is ridiculous. And I don't New York, Chicago might pass it, but Baltimore to San Juan, I think, has a pretty strong hold on the lead right now. Well, I hope everyone enjoyed this episode where we talked about Bo Bichette and Kyle Tucker and Dylan Cease and Cody Bellinger and everything that's gone on with the New York Yankees and all of that. Matt, I'll start with you first. Any parting shots for this Airports episode or anything baseball related you just want to get in before we wrap up?
Baseball related, it's I plan to be in New York in May, and I was looking to see the Yankees schedule, and I was like, oh, cool, they're home. They're playing the Texas Rangers. Great. Love that for me.
You can't escape them.
Nope. Love the Texas Rangers, though. Second favorite team, as I've lived here for 4 years now.
I think that's fair. Taylor, anything from you?
Ryan Weathers is a steal.
I love it.
Absolute steal. They will fix him. He will be very, very good. And if you ever listen to any takes I had about Jake Bird, they're not relevant to this take.
Nor Garrett Cole, right?
Nor Garrett Cole. Well, I was hacked about Garrett Cole. Ryan Weathers steal, calling it now.
Love it. Well, thank you to my alleged brother, Matt Harris. Thank you to the inventor of Hit Ball Over Fence, Taylor Jackson. Thank you to all of our listeners and followers. If any of you stuck it out through this Airports episode, thank you for making it to the end. I've long said that I do this podcast for me, and this is like a pretty good example of the truth of that statement. People know they can keep up with what we do at YankeesFiles.com. You can follow us on Twitter where we are at YankeesFiles. The podcast goes up wherever you get your podcasts with the added bonus of video if you are listening on Spotify. The full video podcast also goes up on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/@crosstownsports. I will be back, probably not with these guys, and more than likely with Steve sometime, someplace in the future. And until then, thank you all for listening. Thank you to the two of you for your airport expertise. And let's go Yankees. And I say, hey, yeah.